Never learn to type. Never learn to type, or that's all you'll ever get to do. Those were the words of advice that my 17-year-old mother received on her farmhouse steps in Zurich, Ontario, just as she headed out to the University of Waterloo to pursue a degree in mathematics and computer science. Now, she didn't even know what a computer was at the time, but her mother had read an article in the London Free Press that described a co-op program that would allow students to pay for school. So it was the one program that she applied for. My mother deeply valued her education because for her, it wasn't a given. Flossie, my great-grandmother shown here, wasn't able to finish high school. The local one-room schoolhouse only went to grade 10. In order to finish school, she would need to board with another family in another town. And girls, they don't need school. And while my mother was able to pursue her education, she found that her career options felt limited. She saw that women could be a teacher, a nurse, or a secretary. A teacher was her path, but then as she gained more exposure to more opportunities, she saw that her opportunities widened. Never learn to type, or that's all you'll ever get to do. Isn't it incredible that this old-timey advice that my mother received just a generation ago just isn't relevant today? And while all of us here today are empowered to choose the adventure that suits our strengths and our passions, and to surround ourselves with bright and innovative minds that bring out the best inside each of us, we still need days like today, because the data tells us that we're not there yet, that businesses still have blind spots. Sorry. There she is. In the 2018 Women in the Workplace study, McKinsey reviews something called microaggressions. They're subtle, brief, commonplace encounters, like when you're talked over in a meeting, even when your idea is amazing. And here's what the data looks like today. Women are 2 times more likely to need to show proof that they're competent. Women are 2 times more likely to be mistaken for someone at a much lower level than they are. And women are 1.5 times more likely to have people speak to them in an unprofessional way. These negative experiences add up. While they can seem small when dealt with one by one, when repeated over time, they can have real impact in the workplace. Women who say they experience microaggressions say that they view their workplace as less fair, and they're 3 times more likely to regularly think about leaving their jobs. We've heard a lot of stats like this today, and honestly, it can feel exhausting. No one wants these behaviors in the workplace. One of the things we do at Facebook to create a community that supports everyone is to start with these posters. And this is one of my favorites, Be the Ally, because it's so much more than just a poster. Be the Ally puts the onus on everyone to make things right. We're committed to making a change in behavior to truly support an inclusive workplace. It's about creating a strong team of allies who can systematically change a culture. We have seen how a 3-step framework can change behavior and build allies. Let me share with you how this works. The first motion in being an ally is simply being more aware. Point it out. Allies are the people in meetings that notice when we don't make space for everyone, that notice when we're not being heard, and that notice when we get cut off. And they're not afraid to point it out. What are they pointing out? Has anyone ever taken your idea in a meeting and taken credit for it in the same meeting? It's those kind of things. Allies are reading body language, listening to the tone of communication, actively listening. Some of us notice these dynamics, but an ally both notices the dynamics and points it out. And then allies move to check it out, clarifying the intention of why things were said or not said. And they work to validate and seek to understand what's going on. The key here is to check out how someone is feeling, to understand their experience. An ally will ask, did I read that right? What was that like for you? Allies want to create a dialogue, to open a conversation, and validate what people are feeling. And then after point it out and check it out, we move into work it out. Allies state an intention of support. It's about collaborating to have a plan on how to work through these issues. Even just knowing you have an ally is confidence boosting. Allies know that having a plan is empowering. I'd like to share a personal example. Back when I was an intern, I had asked for some added responsibility. As a result, I became the LAN administrator and first-level IT support. I am not technical. However, turns out you can learn these things on the job. On my exit interview, I was given a perfect review. But my manager paused, and he wanted to give me some verbal feedback, even if in writing he'd given me a perfect score. He had noticed that I was cold towards one of my colleagues that I'd been supporting. And he just wanted to let me know to be more friendly. What I had never shared at the time is that that colleague had been harassing me in the workplace. I didn't have a name for it at the time. I didn't put my hand up asking for help. But this was a learning for me, that people did notice. They just didn't know how to help. And that brings me to the crux of the issue. For all of us here today in this room looking to be allies, people are unlikely to tell you that they need an ally. Your spidey sense will be firing. You will know something's wrong, but you won't know what it is. How powerful would it have been if my manager had asked me in the moment, hey, I noticed something's off with that colleague. Am I reading that right? From that story, I, as a leader, use that example as a reminder of the importance to be an ally, just the way my grandmother was an ally for my mother. Because if we can surround ourselves with allies, we can change cultures and change behaviors. This is a call to action for each of us. Be the ally. Thank you.